Your ability to excel at this top elite level is all going to come down to how well you can handle your failure.
Sports taught you how to compete, how to lead, how to push past limits when no one was watching. But what happens when the season ends, when the uniform comes off and the identity shifts? Welcome to the Beyond Her Game podcast. I'm Tori Barker, former Division I softball player and founder of Beyond Her Game. Athletes are trained to pursue excellence and lead under pressure, but no one prepares us for life when the game changes. This podcast is for female athletes building what comes next. We talk about business, brand, money, mindset, and identity beyond sports. The things no one teaches you in the locker room. Because the skills you built through sports don't disappear. They're just the beginning. Welcome to Beyond Her Game. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I am thrilled and honored and excited to introduce you to my guest, Leah Amico. Leah, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Excited to be here with you.
So, for the listeners who may not know you, which I'm sure everybody does, but just in case, can you tell everyone about a little bit about who you are and the achievements that you have reached up until this point?
Yes, I am a three-time Olympic gold medalist with USA softball. I was fortunate to play for Team USA for 10 years. But before that, I went to University of Arizona and moved around positions, started out as a pitcher, went to the outfield. That opened the door for the Olympics, and then finished at first base and was a three-time national champion there, three-time first team All-American. And I've been married for 27 years to my husband, Tommy, have raised three sons, and I speak around the country to all different audiences. I use the platform about being the gold standard and showing up with excellence in all that we do. I do commentating with ESPN. I do the Women's College World Series every year on radio with Westwood One Radio. And also, I do a little bit of coaching. I've coached in the pro league a couple years. I coached high school a couple years, and then I currently, for the last few years, have coached Team Israel, the under 18 and under 22 team internationally. So I
Oh
do a
my
little bit of
gosh.
everything.
Yes, a mouthful and amazing. I mean, I love so much to have you as a guest because, Beyond Her Game was built from my own personal experience. And I realized that my journey is very similar to other people, and the impact that I want to make resonates to so many people. And so for this conversation, I'd love for you to talk about how sports shaped your life before you became a gold medalist and before you became an NCAA national champion. What did sports look like in your life before those accolades?
I started when I was 6 years old playing soccer and softball locally in the youth league. And I'll tell you, I fell in love with it. So it taught me passion. I loved the challenge of it. It taught me resilience to be able to say, okay, when I fail, like I'm going to find a way to jump back and to find a way to get better. It taught me teamwork, working with others. Like I am a team sport player through and through. Like everything I do, I'm like, even when I speak, like who's my team? I need that team. It taught me to be coachable and really learn and listen and take advice and implement it and see that you can go so much further than just trying to figure it out on your own. There were so many things. It taught me competitiveness, and ultimately, like what I talk about with the gold standard is just showing up as my best self, trying to get better every day.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to think about, and for people who are maybe in the middle of it right now, young athletes in college, they may not realize it, but all of those things that you just mentioned, like the resilience and competitiveness and hard work, it applies to so much more than athletics. And you can take that your entire life in your career, your adulthood, and your parenting, whatever it might be. It applies to so many different things. And one thing that I'd love for you to touch on is your college career. And was there somebody in your life in your college career that was a big impact and helped you become that Olympian from that one stage to the next?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like there's a couple different spaces with that. I feel like obviously my parents. I remember my mom, like my dad was the one who was the coach. He was really hard on me, challenged me. I struggle because it was like a positive and a negative. Like I never felt good enough, but then it pushed me to be better. So
Yeah.
there's that. My mom was always my safe place. She was my confidant, my one that was there, like encouraging me and lifting me up. And I needed that. Like I definitely needed that because I was really hard on myself. And so I needed that safe place to land
Yeah.
throughout, even in college, my freshman year, I had a moment and I talk about this because I think it's important to know everybody goes through this or a lot of people do. And I
Mm.
called home from Arizona. I lived in California and was playing at Arizona. And I called home and was like, I don't think I have what it takes to play at this level. I had, I was pitching. I got a really far home run hit off of me. My teammates were really good in inter squad, and I was just defeated and deflated. And
Yeah.
so I'm so thankful for her encouragement to keep going because I tell people that was a turning point because I could
Mm.
have given up. It was
Absolutely.
hard, but
Yeah.
she encouraged me. She was a voice to push me forward instead of allowing me to, again, fall back. Obviously, she was like, it's your choice.
Yeah.
But I wanted that. And then ultimately, besides my teammates, which I obviously everything I owe to them, because every single day they pushed me to get better. I feel like I elevated them. But my coach, Mike Candrea, my college coach, honestly, like a dad to me, love that man. It was so much bigger than softball. I
Mm.
feel like he brought the most out of me as an athlete, but he taught me how to live bigger as a person and live better.
Yeah.
And I wanted that. And when you see it exemplified every day, it's so much easier to follow. And I to this day, I love Coach Candrea. To me, he is definitely the greatest of all time. But for my life, he definitely is one of those.
Yeah. And did you, throughout your college career, did you have any other turning points or, challenges that you had to overcome like you did on your freshman year?
I did. I had moments for sure. And I think the biggest thing is don't allow the moments to turn into mountains because then that's when they
Yeah.
seem like they're too hard to climb.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody's going to have moments, but what do you do with that moment? Right.
Mm.
Because there's the mental side of that, right? Which is usually really what it's about. It's usually not the physical, it's usually the mental. And it's dealing with hardship and failure and struggle and recovery and how you can rebound from it. A lot of times it came, after a bad day. Eventually it turned in perspective. I remember walking after a bad game off the field and like seeing one of our fans at Arizona in a wheelchair with the biggest smile ready to give me a high five. He didn't
Ugh.
care that I got out every time. I was
Yeah.
frustrated, but perspective shift happened immediately.
Mm.
And I think if you can do that, and eventually on Team USA on those bad games, like I had to like remind myself, like, you're here for a reason. I
Mm.
do remember calling Coach Kendre at when I was with Team USA, having a rough time. And it's hard when at the highest level when you're surrounded by superstars. In college, I was like, well, at least I'm a good student, even though I'm terrible on the field today. And I called him and he said this, and it's as simple as can be, and yet it's very profound if you take things to heart. He said, Leah, your ability to excel at this top elite level is all going to come down to how well you can handle your failure. And I
Mm.
was having a rough day. And that was all I needed to hear because then it was like, that's true. I'm going to handle it well and I'm going to find a way.
Yeah.
And I think having those safe places to turn and those people that are going to, again, push you forward, inspire you, remind you,
Yeah.
that's so crucial. But I had them throughout. I had a roommate, Laura Berg, only 4-time Olympian with Team USA. And I was able to share with her. She was someone that was an outlet for me. So to
Yeah.
me, some people internalize it. I
Mm.
definitely want to get it out.
Yeah. Well, and it's as an adult now, you look back, I know for myself, the moments of challenge or fear that you come up against whenever whatever situation is with sports or business or life, it's always once you push past that uncomfortable fear or failure that that's when growth happens and that's when, the amazing outcome will come to light because like I often talk about, God puts these obstacles in your path or these lessons for you to learn to get you to that next level so that you can be on that right path. And so, it's so, retrospectively looking back at, your journey and my journey and thinking about, the choices we made have put us where we are today. Some we may have thought weren't the right decision at the time, but ultimately takes us to where we are. So I love, even at the collegiate level, at the Olympic level, you sharing that there's trials and there's failures, and it's what you do with those failures that define who you are moving forward. And I think that's really important for young female athletes to hear. Because like you said, there's going to be moments where you question yourself or moments where you don't feel like you're good enough, but what you do with those moments is what's really going to define you in the long run.
Yeah, and listening to what you're saying, I think, and it's kind of a funny thing, but it's almost like saying who can fail the best.
Yeah.
Whoever fails the best is going to go the furthest because basically you're the ones I tell people fail fast. And when I say fail forward fast, I talk about failing forward, which is common, right? Like
Yeah.
learn from mistakes, grow from them, do better. But the key, I think, and as an Olympian, was to do it fast. How do I make adjustments
Yes.
really, really quick? Whereas some people, it takes them so long and they do
Mm,
maybe fail forward, right? They learn, they grow, but that time that it takes so long to
yeah.
recover. So the idea is I'd say fail forward fast and do it, and that's it. And because then what happens is you just keep learning, you just keep growing and you get further and further.
Yeah, that's so key. I think you're right. Like some people they understand that they need to fail and they need to move through it, but it's the momentum that you get, right? Instead of wallowing in the sadness or
Yes.
disappointment, it's like make that action. And like you say, take action in that next step. That's amazing. It's so, so important. I'd love to hear what surprised you most about life after playing at the collegiate level and playing in the Olympics. What was that transition like for you?
You know, I actually handled it pretty well because of my faith. Because I actually got to play a couple of reasons. Number one, I did end on my terms in the sense that my goal, my dream was to make my final Olympic team. I actually was in college in my first Olympics, got married not long after, went to my second Olympics, and then had my son, Jake.
Oh,
And then when
wow.
he was 3 years old, I won my third Olympic gold medal. So life was happening in the midst of training. It got much harder. I was juggling much more. My village had to grow a lot in support system. So when I was done, I knew like this is it. I'm ready to have more kids. I want to move on. And so that was a little bit of it, but also my faith of like, you know what? Part of the reason I had my son and wanted to keep playing was no day is guaranteed, no team and making the team is guaranteed. I'm going to live life and I'm going to do my best and I'll trust the outcome. I'll trust it to
Yeah.
God. And so when I got done, I knew it was time to retire. I just felt almost, here's what I would say for me, my passion was shifting. I knew it was the end. Up until then, even after I had my son, it didn't shift. I
Yeah.
still wanted it. The goal was worth what it took to get it. And so once that happened, I almost felt like, okay, if I've been able to win gold medals, what else am I going to get to do? And I think, it was this striving of it might be new, it might be harder, but you know what? I want to go after it because it's exciting to find new ways to succeed. Eventually that
Yeah.
led to doing TV with ESPN. That challenge, that was hard. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I was a co-host of a faith-based sports show on Trinity Broadcasting Network for a few years with the former MLB athlete and NBA great. And so even just challenging myself those ways,
Hmm.
I almost loved stepping into the unknown. And I feel like that has been something that is the theme of like, it's going to be new, it's going to be scary, but man, it's going to be fun learning. And so
Yeah.
to this day, like it's just continued meeting new people, being an entrepreneur, writing a book, starting a podcast, all these things that I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm doing it and I'm doing it wholehearted.
Yeah. And it's so exciting when you get to that point where you realize, your passion is here and now it's just like the sky's the limit, right? Like your career may be over, but that's not it for you. And you've got such an impact to make. And I love the work that you're doing, inspiring not only athletes, but, people in business and your own children and talking about resilience and the gold standard and how that applies to so many facets of life. I think it's so admirable for you to be that voice and that light for people because I know there are athletes who may not have had an easy road, right? Or they don't have the opportunity to go into pro or whatever it might be. So by having somebody like you kind of remind them of, the successes that they've had and how they apply that moving forward is the key. I think it's amazing to have that what you do and the word that you share. So yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and it's been great even recently speaking to a lot of college softball teams and getting to even hear from these athletes. And then after I share just my story, it relates so much. So that's what
Yeah.
I love is it doesn't matter that it was so many years ago. Those key points of resilience and working hard, and it
Yeah.
relates to everything we do, right?
Yeah.
And our mindset. So I talk a lot about a map of excellence, gold standard map, which is the M stands for mindset, A stands for action, and P stands for people and relationships. And I feel like everything in those three areas, if we can control what's going on up here, it affects everything, how we move forward, our energy, our motivation, our confidence, right? Our mindset, it is important because it affects our feelings. And then the
Mm.
action piece, get busy. You can even think, oh, I'm really good mentally, but you take no action or you take
Yeah.
action that's getting you further, right?
Yeah.
And so that obviously as an Olympian, the everything we took, it had a purpose and
Mm.
it was forward moving. And then the people, whoever you have in your life, even if you're an entrepreneur and you do things by yourself, it doesn't matter. You still need people around you. You need
Yeah.
people that give wisdom. You need to, I think, even sharing. For me, I feel like I grow more sometimes through the mentoring that I do,
Yeah.
because I'm having to say, do I believe this? What do I live out and learn myself from it? And I just think until I die, I'm never going to stop learning. But that's the fun of it, is to say not only what I've done, but more importantly, how can I keep getting better? And then how can I help others do it too?
Yeah. And like you said, the stuff that you're teaching is timeless, right? Like even though your career was in the 90s and that's so archaic to these young kids these days, right? Like they think, "Oh my gosh, it's so far away," but it's still timeless. And I think that's what's so important is that the message doesn't change. It's how you apply it that really makes the difference. I know a lot of conversations I hear recently with the athletes that it's changed the landscape a little bit is like the NIL, right? Like that wasn't necessarily something that was, prevalent or even I don't even think was a thing back then. But have you seen any different challenges that these athletes are facing in this new era that maybe wasn't something that you had to deal with when you were in college or in the Olympics?
I think social media changed everything. I think the fact that everybody sees it and is able to comment on it, and I think it even has changed how athletes like show themselves. I think there's,
Mm.
a lot of the more celebratory stuff, which obviously it's good, but I think because it's going to go on the
Yeah,
TV or the phones or the social media, and so it's changed a lot of things. You want that success to be shared. You want people to say, hey, we can give them an NIL, right? We can give them money
yeah.
for that. I think I would have had a lot more money back in the day, but I also think there's a little more pressure that comes with that too. And
Right.
so I think navigating that is really hard. It's hilarious to think in college, our coach used to say, don't read the newspaper. It would be the same as saying, don't get on social media.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
and yeah, right. That like that's not going to happen
It's
because he
in your
knows it
pocket,
can.
right?
Yeah, and it like literally could just get in your head. And so
Yeah.
you try to protect them, and he was trying to protect us because he didn't want us thinking about what other people said. He wanted us to follow
Yeah.
in like our belief and our confidence. And so that I think is more of a challenge. I think there's like obviously a lot more good that's come with it, the growth
Mm.
of the game, the recognition, the notoriety, people able to dream bigger because they see it more.
Yeah.
But then with that pressures, expectations, just all of that I think can get a little bit harder as well.
Yeah. Oh, so amazing. I mean, so many thoughts, right? We can have this conversation for days. I'd love for you to wrap up the conversation with a final thought. And what that would be is I'd love for you to talk to the athlete who might be standing on the edge of that transition, right? What would you say to them? What are things that they need to focus on, or put into action as they're in that transition phase?
I would ultimately just say double down on your strengths. Know what those are. Believe in them. Like that, we're all different and you bring a strength. Do it. Stop worrying about our weaknesses. Get those better, but double down on your strengths. Number one. Number two, give your best in all you do. My biggest thing I find is just the fact of that effort piece. So many people hold back for fear of failure, fear of what others are going to think. Just give it all and
Yeah.
let the chips fall where they will, and then help others. I
Mm.
think if you do that, like, and you're truly someone, because what happens is we feel like we have to put ourselves above others in order to like reach the top. But I think it's actually joining and linking arms and collaborating and helping others that actually will push you further. And so I really believe in that big time, like double down on your strengths, get that mindset that you can do this, right? And then help others and put all your effort forward.
Yeah. Well, Leah, thank you so much for being a guest and sharing this knowledge and insight and your expertise and just really being a light in this space. I really appreciate having you as a guest. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about the speaking that you do or get a copy of your book?
Yeah, my books are on Amazon underneath my name, Leah Amico, Leahamico. And my website is actually leahamico.com. And so they can also find my topics that I speak on and all about the gold standard, the podcast, the social media links, as well as the books on there as well. So leahamico.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. It was an honor and a true pleasure to have you as a guest here today.
Thank you so much.